So I wrote this post out that says signs of a spiritually dead church / Christian.
I fear that most Christians are acting like Judases in the church.
It's almost like call out culture type deal where it's like, actually, I want to ask you guys: is there a topic of which that you specifically want to jump into right away from the list that we have? I know Cole. Actually, you know what, Cole? We might just start with you because you actually posted something. You posted something the other day that I thought was really interesting, and so if you want to kind of give us some backlog or backstory, there we go, a backstory to what it is that you posted, and we can just kind of start dialogue on there.
Oh man, it's actually kind of cool because I'm going to get to preach on this at my church here in a couple weeks. But going into 2024, I started kind of praying about this topic. 2023 we saw a lot about revival. We saw different movements of revival. We saw movies about revival. That seemed to be like the common revival, like conversation. That seemed to be like. And then when I look at the American church, all I see is a lot of spiritual dead type churches. I see a lot of spiritually dead type Christians. And this is not an attack at any one church. This isn't, oh, he went to my church. Is he talking about my church? No, this is just a general overview, a general inventory of like the American church. So I was sitting there and I was just kind of in my prayer time. And, sometimes when you just get quiet, the Holy Spirit just starts to speak to you. I just started writing stuff down. And so I wrote this post out that says signs of a spiritually dead church / Christian. And there's 11 of them. I'll read them all off. But when your politics become more important than his promises, when signs, miracles, and wonders are not followed by praise, excitement, and awestruck wonder, when you allow worship, baptisms, salvations, etc., to become rituals performed instead of real relationships formed and lived out.
Wow.
When you've created a reality that salvation happens from the pulpit / church building instead of your day-to-day life.
Oof.
When your thoughts and speech align more with gossips, rumors, and slander instead of building up, speaking life and encouragement. When you expect your faith to work while you are harboring unforgiveness. When your morals align with worldly reasoning instead of holiness and being Christ-like.
Message.
When things like serving, giving, tithing, etc. are beneath you, unimportant to you, or offend you. When you constantly feel offended, so you operate out of defensiveness.
Wow.
And the last one, when reproof, correction, and submission to a pastor, leadership is a problem for you or non-existent.
I feel like we just need to talk. I feel like we need to break those down.
I told Jose that it was coming. I was like, man, like I cannot not post this. Like it was just something that hit me in a private time. And sometimes you got to discern, is that for you? Is that for somebody else? Is that corporate? And so I was finally got this like release to post it. And
Well, okay. So I guess the first thing I'm going to ask is, since you have posted it, has anybody responded on it? Have people been silent? I mean, how's the reaction been?
I'll say this. Those that I know that are spiritually sound, people that I can really trust in that regard, they reached out. There's like, man, that's so on point. I'm actually getting to preach on that, or this fired me up to preach on that. Or, hey, can you come preach on that? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. But here's what's more alarming is that nobody had anything to say about it. And that's because they don't care. They'd really, I mean, there's just so much American Christianity out there that it's like, yeah, either I think I'm not one of those or I'm not all of those. And I'm some of those, you know what I mean? Like, I got to be real about myself. I'm some of those, when we are so silent about the problems and the issues that we can't even either let it offend us to the point that at least we can talk about it and have a conversation, or again, that last one, let it reproof, correct, sharpen us so that we can actually grow and we can actually start to see a move of God that we keep claiming is going to happen in this country at some point.
Do you got any initial thoughts on that, Paul?
Yeah, I think the the major thing is like how destructive gossip is.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of Christians understand like the fruit of the spirit is self-control
Yeah.
and that operating. And I fear that most Christians are acting like Judases in the church that are just trying to get Jesus for their own gain, and they'll sell out as soon as there's some level of pushback where it's not happening the way they want it to happen. They're not getting the attention that they need to get. And maybe the service isn't coming on them, but maybe they're called to serve others. And so the gossip portion, what I've seen in the local church at least, is it will terrorize and mess up a place.
Yeah.
And so, that's my thoughts on that. Like, it's like we have a really hard time controlling our tongue, and then we want breakthrough, we want healing, we want to move forward.
Yeah.
But like, we won't even lean into the spirit when we could just keep our mouth shut. You know what I mean? And it's hard because I'm a talker too, because I get it. It's like, it's like, ooh, I just want to rise up. But it's like that one pinged off of me the most. It was like, ooh, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Well, think about this for a second. Where do you hear the most gossip, the most rumors? Like, I don't think I've ever been anywhere else where I've not heard more gossips and rumors than at church.
Wow.
And again, this is not just my church. I'm talking like I can go travel to churches. We can go anywhere we want to go. And it's so easy. I'm not even in the circle, right? I'm just there visiting. And I can get told 5 or 6 different stories about somebody.
Right.
And I want to preface, sometimes a pastor will entrust you with information so that you can be led about something, or so there's a difference between being entrusted with information because there's spiritual sensitivity to something and just flat out talking about something because you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you can kind of differentiate those by the heart of why it was said.
Right.
Hey, I want to let you know this because I want you to be praying about this situation. This is what's going on. I need, there's that. We don't need to talk about this anymore. I'm just giving you the facts, and not all the facts need to be said.
Yeah.
This is just what's going on. I need you to know about it. Cool. You trust me with that? Great. Did you hear about so-and-so though? Like, so-and-so is going through that. Like, man, we should probably pray for them, but like, it's more about the gossip than it is about the prayer.
And like, you have your people, because there was a moment where it was my wife and I, and then a lady, and she mentioned someone's name, and I remember I even think that the information that I was given about this person being in the hospital was a private thing. And I was like, oh, did you know she's in and then my wife literally just went, yep, we're not talking about that. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right, we're not talking about that. And we just like made it super awkward. And then, I looked at the lady and I was like, yeah, my bad, I don't mean to make this super awkward and just let it stand still, but we're gonna let that stand still. I did not know that information needed to come out. And my wife like called me out on it. It was great because sometimes it just like, you'll know something and then it'll just like bubble up and you're like, wait, hold up. And sometimes you're not even trying to like demean somebody. It'll just kind of like pop up. And so I praise my wife for that, because it's just like, sometimes that stuff just comes up, but the fruit of the spirit is self-control, and we need to be leaning in that spirit. If you're going to be Sean dying and two-stepping in the spirit, we need to let that thing like work in us well. So yeah, man, that's good.
Absolutely. And I mean, and really, honestly, really shout out to your wife, because like and obviously I know your wife and I know she's bold, regardless. And, but like how many people also already are standing around listening to that said gossip or prayer request or whatever, and then just biting their tongue and thinking to themselves, ooh, they shouldn't be doing this. Ooh, they shouldn't be doing that. So like, it's almost like call out culture type deal where it's like, you really ought to go ahead and call that out, because that is within the context of your actual church. Like, here's what we're not saying. Okay. For the audience, what we're not saying is you hear something about some other church or whatever, and then you're taking it to your church leader and, trying to say, hey, I should, you should talk to that person or whatever. That pastor has no context to who that person is. That is, that's not his sheep. Right. And so, we're not saying call out in that aspect, but we are definitely saying that, if it is something that you are familiar with, or that you are around, and I guess the best way I could probably think of it, here's another way I think of it, is if we were on a sports team, right? If we're on a basketball team and I know two of our players have got issues, and one of them are coming to, to me about it, and let's say I'm the captain or whatever, I'm be like, hey, this is a conversation that I don't really need to know about. This is something actually between for you, the coach, and the player that you got an issue with. Like you're gossiping, or you're trying to get my thoughts on something that does not really actually involve me. And again, it's shout out to anybody who is standing on the sidelines, who has proximity and is actually bold enough to go, hey guys, I don't really think we should be talking like that. I don't, or even addressing it to, this is actually how I normally do it. This is how I normally do it. People will start to ask me, because it'll be conversations even at the gym. Somebody will start talking to me. I'll go, hold on, before you keep going, have you actually communicated to this person?
Bruh.
That's the first thing I normally ask. I go, wait. Have you talked to them at all? Well, no, I was wondering what your thoughts. Hang on, before you wonder what my thoughts are, go talk to them first.
Yeah.
Because all my questions, because I like to try to stay curious, all my questions are going to stem from the conversation that you should have had. So if you've had no conversation, I would have a lot of questions, but you're not going to be able to answer any of them because I'm going to be asking for context, but you have no context to give me other than your side of the story. So, yeah.
Well, and I'll say this too, with you abruptly stopping the way that you guys did, that's a lesson learned that didn't have to be taught necessarily, right? Like you didn't even have to say anything.
Yeah, that's good.
That person, like I learned that way. I'll watch pastors and I'll watch, especially because I'm watching pastors because I'm trying to, that's my shepherd. That's someone I'm trying to follow.
Right.
And so when I see something like that, I'd be like, wow, even though it was awkward, even though it might have been hard to do that, they stopped dead in their tracks and they chose not to talk about it. They chose, it didn't have to be said. It didn't have to be carried on. They chose to stop it dead in its tracks and to be done with it. And it's like, oh, I can do that. If they have the self-control, right. To say, even though maybe the door's been open a little bit, the temptation's there to keep opening that door, they found a way to close it. So maybe I need to work on closing that door more often when the ball's in my court. So I think that's super cool that you guys were willing to deal with the awkward of the door already being open in front of somebody, instead of just saying, well, the door's already open, might as well just, let everybody in on it,
Yeah.
Matthew.
Go ahead, sir.
Matthew 18:15. If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. I'm not going to read the rest of it. You can read it for the context sake, but it just made me think about that. Like how many times, at least for me, people will come to me, and even in my my church and what's going on, like people will come talk to me about all the things, and it's just like, it's like they didn't even think about going up to them at all. They're just like, oh, I just want to let you know, just keep your eye out. And everyone's kind of just doing it. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, we need to talk to our brother, like talk to him one-on-one. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid of, because they're not good at like conflict, or they don't want to be in conflict. And so if they could just dump on someone that's safe and hoping that they'll just take care of it. Because I think people are just hoping they'll complain to me and tell me, and then Paul will just fix it. Right. And it's just like, no, I need you. I need you to step up. I need you to talk to that person that you feel like that has offended you, or that you see something. And so, and we don't want to do that whole alone thing, because we'll just grab 2 people right off the bat. We'll just be like, bro,
I love that you bring up that scripture though, because it goes back to the point of the Bible, especially the New Testament. They have orders and operations for literally everything.
Bruh.
Yeah.
It's right there in front of you. This is not a too many people lean on their pastors to fix their problems. Instead of learning that your pastor is there to teach you how to handle those problems, right? And this is so minor, but this is what I say to people. Anytime we are like at a dinner, at an event, and they're like, well, Cole, you're a pastor, you pray. I'm like, I'm a pretty bad pastor if I haven't taught you how to pray. If you can't pray, you claim to be a believer. If you can't pray over the meal, that's the one everyone knows how to do. Like, if you can't pray over the meal, sheesh, like how bad of a representation have I been in that moment for you to claim that I'm the pastor, but you know, their orders and operations are there. The shepherd is put there to lead and guide you, not to do it for you.
Come on. That's so good, dude.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that was good.
That's so good.
Ehead 21. What's up, baby? Good to see you in here, man. So
we got Matthew 5:24. What is this?
We're pulling up some verses here, so I want to see what this is in context, and so that way. So if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple, you should suddenly remember someone has something against you. Leave your sacrifices there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person. Then come and offer your sacrifice to God.
There's a lot of people that won't do that, though. They'll be like, I'm still going to give in this offering. I'm still going to serve in kids' church.
Or, Lord, can you just soften their heart? Can you soften their heart so that that they would approach me about the conversation, or that you would convict them, Father? That, like, I feel like there's a lot more of those prayers than it is, Lord, would you give me the boldness and the words and the kind heart to be able to have that conversation
while that person's praying the same prayer.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
what is crazy is all this is part of our sanctification, right? All this is to help us to be more like Christ, which is needed and necessary for us to grow. And it's like, come on, man. It's just like lean in. Don't just take the easy way out all the time. And I understand it's hard. Like, if you're a people pleaser, I struggle with people pleasing. I get it. It's like the last thing you want is tension between somebody. But it's just like, man, do we honor people over God? You know what I mean? Do we fear God? Do we want to, like, okay, what would God want best for this scenario in this situation? And so, yeah, man, it's a difficult one, but we need to lean in on this. So if you're watching this and you got something against your brother, this is already a tag from the Holy Spirit speaking to you right now. Just text them right now. Hey, we should talk in person.
Yeah.
And let's have a conversation.
Let's go meet up at Chick-fil-A for lunch, okay, guys?
Okay.
That's just a place to just soften all hearts.
That lemonade is really good, though.
Hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.